Hi guys, this is Atco. I'm going further into my game room for the early 2015. Wanted to go in and look at some things today. We're going to talk about the antique radios that I have collected. Now, I did a video about a week ago, went through kind of a scan through my die-cast model cars. And I think that went well. Now the only problem that I have in my game room, there's only 2 lamps in there and it's not real bright in there, and I like it like that. But the problem is, when you saw my video I did with my cars, a lot of the stuff there was kind of dark. I'm going to try it a little different with this one, where I'm going to do the antique radios. I'm going to use a picture of each scene of the game room, and I'm going to use the flash. It's going to make things a little sharp, a little harsh, but let's see how it goes. Alright, so let's start getting in. Now here I am into the first wall of my game room, and you can see I have collected a lot of things in there. We're going to look at one of the first radios that I had collected. I picked this up at a Hamfest. It's a Zenith clock radio from probably around 1958-59, and I just thought it looks cool. If I recall, I don't think I've ever tested with this, just I haven't pulled that out of the wall for quite a while, but I think the plug had been cut off, so obviously somebody didn't want anybody to try using that. Until just the last year, I wasn't working on any of the radios. I would just buy them for display. And this is one too. So, but I like the looks of it. It gives it that 50s look, and one of my old cars on top of that is a Studebaker Hawk from, I believe, 1957. And then a little further in the wall there, I've got a lot of transistor radios. Gotta have transistor radios to remember those of us who grew up in the 60s. And I'd pick those up whenever I'd see them, and almost all of them work. I think there's only 1 or 2 that doesn't. And then back in the early 70s, when I was in college, I had bought this Panasonic clock radio with a digital clock on it. I loved that thing. Got me through most of my classes. And it was working fine, and I guess one day it didn't work and I got rid of it. So I had to have one of these, and I picked that up at eBay. It was working fine, and I've had that 2 or 3 years now. Now if you look along the side is a piano. I got 2 other antique radios there. The one is an Emerson from 1940, and that one I bought off eBay, and it's working. I don't think it had never been restored. I think it just was working. So that would be a good unit one day for me to at least take the caps out of it, replace the caps. And then I've got that General Electric. I just got that at Hamfest just this last year. I just thought it looked cool. The guy had already recapped it, so I know it's working fine. And just a very pretty looking clock radio from 1949. Now I also have, my family had an old RCA Victor that was in the house when I was growing up. My parents let me have that in my room, and I loved that radio. So when I had to have one in my game room, that's one of the first ones I had to buy on eBay. And I bought that working, never tried to restore it. Again, that would be a great one today to recap. Alright, we'll move up a little bit more to the right side of my game room, and there's a shelf there. It has a couple more cars. And then I bought this Zenith AM/FM. That I also just bought this last Hamfest last summer, and I picked it up. I think I got it for like $15 or something, I don't recall, but he had recapped it and it works. I just thought it was a nice looking radio. Moving on a little further in my wall there, you can see I have different things in the shelves there, and there's my first, actually, a radio that I prepared. This I just got really early in the spring of last year, and I saw that he had a few radios. This one I particularly liked because it just, really gives that, I think, about a 1960 look. When you plug it in, you just hear a hum. And that really made me think that, this is something that could be fixed easily. He also had some tools, and that's where I got my tube tester. I got that for $5. I'm not sure the guy even knew what it was. But for $5, it's not a real high-end one, but it's good enough to test. And I bought that and this, and I recall when I started working on that, the tubes all passed, and I had to replace the old capacitors. I had ordered those and brought them in, put them in, and I only needed 4 or 5 caps, and everything worked fine. This is actually a very nice little radio. Then this one, I got this a year or two also at a ham fest. Guy said that it worked. Only wanted $7 for it. I thought it'd be a good radio for either to work on or just have it on as a collection just for display. The only thing it had, you see at the top, the pointer, the bottom and the top looked different. And that top part was broken off. And that's, I guess, he was having trouble selling it. And I just glued the pointer from an old radio that I had and stuck it there. If you look real close at it, you can notice it's not the one it's supposed to, but it's holding well, and the radio does work. So it's a good item to have collected, and it shows real well. Now this is one of the last ones I got in the Hamfest of this last year. This Emerson from 1946. It's a big light, and it's just a nice little machine, very clean. Of course it wasn't working, but the only thing it had at that time was the hum, so the filter caps were bad. All I had to do was replace those. Now I also made my own mistakes with that thing when I was fixing it, but eventually it was all repaired. And it sounds really good. It picks up stations really well, and it's a nice machine to have in my collection. All the way towards the end of the wall, my dad had quite a collection of records, and that cabinet there was full of his 78 records. You see that old, I guess probably looks in the late 30s, wooden radio. It had been pretty much gutted inside. There are no tubes in it. Yeah, maybe it could someday be working, but it just looked cool, and the case looked pretty good. So I thought, hey, that would look good in that same area, right where that cabinet is for the records for my dad. I think I got that for like $2 or $3 because it didn't work and probably never would. Alright, now we're going to move to the other side of my game room. What I've got there, you'll see on the left side, that's my Victrola, and over on the right of that is a shelf that I've got, some of my more current electronics. But at the top is a Philco 1934 Cathedral radio. I bought that probably somewhere in maybe the early summer, but I found it on Craigslist. It had been completely restored, and I got it for, I guess, around about $60 or $65, something like that. Works great, good machine to have there. Now moving just over more to the right from that side of the wall, I have a few more cabinets in there, and these are some of the radios that I've repaired this year. Now of course you'll see my Philco was the last video I've done. That one I got at a yard sale towards the end of the fall. I had to put 4 different videos about that while I was repairing that, but it came out perfect, and it is a good looking radio. Picks up stations very well. Then this is my Motorola. This was one that I bought at a Hamfest around summer, and this one needed a lot of work. It's a plastic case and didn't look real good, and it didn't work, of course. I had replaced all the caps, completely restored the cabinet, and came out really well. That's my first radio with plastic that I restored. I'm very happy with that one, and it looks real well. The first restoration that I ever did, and this was probably in early summer this year, was this Westinghouse right here. I got this thing at a Hamfest for $3 because it looked like it'd been run over by a truck. The only thing that was cool about it, it did have the tubes in it, but it looked pretty bad. I replaced all the caps. I think it needed a tube in there. The rest of them were okay. Had some wiring. A bad resistor was fixed. I did the best that I could to align it, and that did help a lot in the reception of the station. And then because it looked bad, I wanted to try to restore the cabinet. And it's a wooden cabinet. So it was the first radio that I've ever restored. And it came out really well. And if you have never seen that, I've got 3 or 4 videos I had to do over time as I did the way it looked to begin with until I finished it. And you'll see that it was a Westinghouse as one of my videos. Other thing I'd forgotten at the beginning, the first part of my game room, I also have a RCA Radiola 17 radio from 1927. This one had been restored, and I got that at Craigslist. So I had to have both radio, and I had to pay separately for the speaker because I wanted the speaker that matched that one. And I think I paid $60 for the radio and then another $45–50 for the speaker. But that had been restored just as well as the radio, so I got maybe $110 in that. But I just think it looks cool. It's a 1927 radio. I mean, that was quite a piece of technology at that time. Okay guys, so that was pretty much it. That's my antique radios that I picked up, and I've had a lot of fun in 2014 working on these old radios, and that'll give me now a chance, since a couple of the ones that I bought earlier, I can now recap them and make them work better, even if they were buying when I got them already. Okay guys, well, that's it for now. I'll keep going into the rest of my game room in the future to try to update where I've got, and if you're interested, keep hanging on with me. I appreciate it. This is Atco, signing off.